seamless. Morning.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stew in the Night, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our chat room, via our Facebook page, and of course, on Twitter. Keep it funky. And hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stew and the Nun. Let me figure out when to put this mic so it's not in front. Ooh, it's kind of loud. Hello, everybody. We are in episode 125 tonight here on May 22nd. As you can see, I'm not joined by the Nun tonight. I'm joined by the Shard. Stew and the Shard show. And but I wasn't going to redo all the graphics, so he will fill in as a Nun tonight. I have a little something going on in my throat, so it's... I kind of, every once in a while, Doug, I get kind of this Wolfman Jack thing going on, but I got something going on. So if it changes, I'm not entering puberty. They've already dropped. They've dropped a long time ago. It's just something's going on. But anyways, welcome. You see to my left, your right, my good friend Doug Mullen from Gear for Grunts. Welcome, Doug.
Hey, everybody. Here, cheers.
Cheers. And
cheers.
What are you sipping on tonight?
I am sipping on the. Oh man,
Texas
there you go.
TX blended
the
whiskey.
TX.
That is very good stuff. We have
it's fantastic.
I have helped empty that bottle a little bit.
I was gonna say you're like that.
No,
I think somewhere like that.
No, never. I would never do that much. I am in honor of my Canadian brother, who is not here tonight for very important family things. I am drinking Labatt Blue from Canada. So, in honor of Toby, I am drinking some blue, and here's to you.
To Toby.
And besides plugging a whiskey that I would love to have as a sponsor, but we don't, and Labatt Blue, which would also be a great sponsor, I do want to plug the Enlisted 9 Fight Company, because you can't get any better than right there. Enlisted 9 Fight Company. They are a great sponsor of this show. You can see some graphics up behind me. See this awesome looking dude up there, right there. I don't know who he is, but he's a tough looking mofo, and like to party with that guy sometime. And but that's not Colton. Colton's about as more buff than that. But anyways, like them, also honoring Mesquite Creek Outfitters, a great semi-sponsor of the show. They take care of us a lot. Toby's done a lot of live broadcasts from there. We've done a couple with him, Doug. We've done a few.
Yes, we have on site even.
Yep, on site. So. Those who watch know that I was with in the Southern Studio last week with Toby. We did that show on Thursday night and had a great time with Travis Cox. So I am back in the Northern Studio, sporting a new POW MIA flag behind me. You're actually back there, as you can see. I try to change it up. I don't know if you've picked that up for those of you that watch. I'm rotating flags all the time. I'm building up quite the collection. The Gadsden flag is outside. It is hanging below the American flag, but what I do have is my awesome No Step on Snake
I love it.
Gadsden patch that came with my latest stuff. So No Step on Snake.
Love it.
That's the That's the ghetto bush league way of saying "don't tread on me." Anyways, as you can see, like I said, Doug is with me tonight. You can text us at 512-361-1178, 512-361-1178 if you would like. You can also comment in the chat, which we have a few. Welcome, Jared, and welcome, Mom, and Dad, I'm sure. And
I Miss Stewart.
There we go.
Stewart.
And if you are watching this, or if you are watching us on one and not sure where you can catch us, you can always catch us not only on Facebook Live, but Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, and then audio on Spreaker, and you can subscribe in iTunes. So, Toby's away tonight. I got Doug with me from Gear for Grunts. We're going to talk about a number of topics. Nice. I didn't get one.
You like that?
I didn't get one of those when I was down there. I missed out.
When you have an embroidered polo shirt, it gives some gravitas to what you're doing. It's like you're legit or something.
That's top notch, man. You stitched some fabric inside of other fabric. That is or thread inside of fabric. So yeah, that is legit for sure. Anyways, yeah. So we're gonna talk a number of things tonight. There is I'm looking right over at the top over here. You're seeing our president on TV right now. We're going to talk a number of things that are going on in the news, and Doug, it doesn't. We're not ever starving for content.
No, since January of last year, or I guess even before that, the stream is constant, man, and it's just impossible to keep up with it.
Yeah, and it's not even coming out of the White House. I mean, there's just so much going on, right? We got stuff in North Korea that is continuing to develop. We got things in the State Department. Sadly, man, are you beating the keyboard up? Because it's coming across really loud on the microphone. Yeah. Sadly, yet another shooting, in a school, and it just it doesn't stop. But there's all kind of stuff going on. So we have a number of topics to talk about that tonight. And Doug, I'm also asking you to be not only the guest host, which you've been a number of times, but also a guest. And so we're going to talk about some of the stuff you went through. You are a professional consultant.
My journey. Journey.
You work in a business profession in the IT industry, but you also have a passion in innovation, new products, and somewhere you saw a need. And the wonderful world of capitalism, you saw a need, and you developed and designed and providing a supply. So I want to talk a little bit tonight, too, about, in case anybody is watching or listening, talk a little bit about what that means if you're trying to, the Army itself, or, the government, any part of the government, really, but the Army itself, they're a big buyer. They don't buy just 5 or 6 widgets. They buy a lot. So I want to make sure that, we talk about, in case anyone else is out there got this great idea, they want to sell to DOD or sell somewhere, and they want to know what it takes or what kind of, it's not an easy road. There's not a, it's much tougher than trying to get something on Amazon. So I like to talk through that, and you kind of talk through some of the lessons learned and what you found and some of the pitfalls or surprises or stuff. So we'll definitely cover that tonight. But
awesome.
Doug, why don't you go ahead and go on and kind of open up and give our listeners who don't know you a little bit of a background.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm Doug Mullen, a.k.a. The Shard. I've known Mr. Troy here for literally half my life plus 1 year. We were in the 501st Battalion Mortars together in the beautiful state of Alaska, where I was, I think I was still a second lieutenant when you showed up, and I think you were still an E5.
Were you there when I got there? I don't think you were there when I got. No, a different lieutenant. When you showed up, I think I was an E6, but you were a second lieutenant. You came out of Charlie Company, I think. Right?
I came out of a Comanche Company. Yeah. Because I somehow managed to pass MLIC back in the day. So they said, hey, take your 3 Zulu identifier and go down there in the basement and be the mortar platoon leader, and that was pretty cool. You thought you ticked somebody off, didn't you? Like, what, the mortar platoon leader? What did I do? Is my career already over? Like, what happened? I know it. I'm getting. They're gonna make me go signal here in about like a year or so, year and a half. So it's already. Anyway. So no, it was actually. So So I was commissioned, obviously before that, I guess a little bit more background, went to Southwest Texas State University here in the beautiful state of Texas, now called Texas State University. So I was commissioned right out of there, went on active duty, did all the HUA schools, at least like the majority of the HUA schools worth mentioning. Anyway, I got to Alaska, was a rifle platoon leader, and then I was with Troy in the mortar platoon. And I think I've said this before, Troy, but I know you're probably one of the most, seriously though, Stacey and I talk about this, you're probably one of the most intelligent people we know, because I've seen you in action, and I love it when you you rolled into MLIC when you went there and said, hey, I'm going to be honor grad, just print my name on the print my name on my my certificate now, honor grad, and everybody was called BS on you, and spoiler alert, you were the honor grad of your class. So
now you know why I have Doug on the show. He's like my own hype man. I didn't have to work on it. I just
I know. Well, this is true. I'm not. This is all true, man. Yeah. I might even.
And I was a tad cocky and arrogant back then. Yeah. We won't even talk about the other schools that I accomplished that in. But when I came out, which I went in there very humbled, and I came out that way, and you could not. The beret barely fit on my head. I think they had to put two of them together.
It was tight fitting. It was like, oh man, yeah. It was so tight. Anyway, portended your current hairstyle is what it said. That you knew what you were going to look like later in life already, because it was so tight. But I think you did that for the Jumpmaster MTT too. Am I correct? Not to brag.
Yeah, that was one of them, and there's some other. But yeah, that was one I'm probably the most proud of. The others were in my job and things like that. But Jumpmaster School to get distinguished honor grad was something I'll never forget. That is it's like winning the lottery or winning the American Idol or something. I mean, it was one of those things where you're just glad to be there, just glad to compete.
Yeah. I did it exactly like 12 months before you did, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, to your point, just glad to be here, glad to have graduated.
Glad somebody put me in ATARs and let me come to this school, and let's see if I can inch by. And yeah, so, but yeah, I was I appreciate that, Doug. That was we've had a lot of good times together, and what says something about mine and yours friendship, and a number of mine that I've had over the years with some of my closest friends in the military, is we maintained contact and maintained friendship well before the days of social media and online, right? Which was not easy. We both have lost a lot of contacts with people because there was just no such thing. And I've found some, I don't know if you have, but I found some that I broke contact with a long time ago, but we maintained it through that time.
Well, not only we were friends, our wives are friends.
Yep.
Or some of our kids are the same age, so we kind of, that just did some Army stuff together, but we went through life together, and we're continuing to do so, and I'm blessed and grateful that you're my friend, and, that we have you guys as, family friends too.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing, and it's a blessing we're even having this conversation 26 years later, right? From when we started, which was, I think I actually showed up to that platoon in like June of 92, if I remember correctly. So we're right at 26 years. So that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, it's we won't talk about short rounds on the flats when we were firing. When the bipod collapsed when we were firing.
We won't talk about people dipping coffee, and we won't talk about 45 rounds going off in the barracks or anything else.
The answer always is Nick Gelder. If you just remember Nick Gelder when you're asked a question, you're good to go. The jury key, that's for you. Remember him.
So yeah, we go way back, and I always enjoy having you on here. Enjoy it, of course, every time I come to the great state of Texas, especially the Austin area. We are always spending time together, as you always open up your humble abode to me to rest my head.
Yeah. We got to up the star rating though for you next time. Yes, we're gonna get it up.
I think I am now a platinum titanium lifetime.
You're like
member.
iridium. Yeah. You're like some precious alloy that's not found on Earth. You're up to like moon rock, and we'll get up to like rings of Saturn or something status. We'll keep going. Further out in space. So.
So hey, there's a lot of stuff. Sorry, I'm just working the chat at the same time. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff going on in the news. And there's we'll kind of hit on the one of the biggest ones. Toby and I have been talking about this this North Korea thing for a while, and for the last couple of weeks, right? And what a bigger than Berlin Wall moment it has kind of been. And a lot of people have been like, "Oh, we're approaching it with skeptical, optimism, but trust but verify, be skeptical, and all that stuff." And gave back the 3 prisoners, and inviting the press in now to watch them dismantle their nuclear stuff. Right. And now it kind of seems like there's some slipping or some backtracking or something like that. I don't. Do you think this is just jockeying, trying to save face? Is there valid behind this, or is there really? It's not much of anything, but it's just being blown up that way to cause doubt within the administration or something.
I don't know. I guess I'm an Occam's razor kind of guy. So like whatever the simplest answer is, 90% plus the time that's the real answer you're looking for. It's probably 65 65 years of bad habits. It's really hard to break a habit of, blaming the United States, the West for all your problems. And, anything new is scary. And especially for these guys, they potentially will lose at least some measure of control, if not total control of what they had. So it's probably some of that, and just trying to look legitimate to the home crowd. Like, oh, I pushed back on Uncle Sam and this bad Trump guy, And I don't know. I think they're so desperate, and I don't, obviously China's always involved, so they have the same playing for the home crowd perceptions they've got to I guess live up to. So I think they're gonna, I remember a quote from Kissinger when he was negotiating with the North Vietnamese, like in 1972 or something, and he said, quote, "They're just shits." And I think, it's probably the same kind of deal. Every little thing they're going to argue about, like how tall the table is, how big the chairs are the flags on the table the same? So, they're going to go through all that complete nonsense. And, when I'm standing next to Trump, I got to be standing on this like podium so I look as tall as he does, and all this, it's just this nitnoid stuff just to even, before they even start talking about anything, before you even get down to any sort of...
Right. And I think it's that too. I think it's, he's been, it has, from my perspective, looks like that the president's just getting everything right, and that the North Korean leader's just rolling over. And it seems to be now they're saying it's tied to when he just went to China for a meeting with President Xi in China, came back, and then he started getting a little cocky. So maybe the Chinese president, like, dude, you got to stand up a little bit. I know you got to roll over, but it seems to be like, you got to be a little bit more of a man and step it up a little bit. But, now they're saying the June 12th thing may or may not happen, and all that kind of stuff. Just for them to even consider it, I think is already a win. So I'm good with that, whether it happens or not. But, if it pushes off, everyone thought June was really, really aggressive anyways, right? That's a lot to coordinate, security and talking points and briefing people and all that stuff. So, maybe they're setting it back. Maybe they were hoping for June, and now they're kind of resetting it to what reality is going to be.
Yeah, and you might be right. There might be some, different. I don't know. I think they're so desperate that But again, it's all about power. It's about control, and they fear they're going to lose some of it, so they're going to drag this out and try to bluster and rattle sabers and stuff to look as cool as they can to the target population back home.
Does it give you any concern that it may not happen, or that this whole thing may fall apart just because of what we're starting to see now?
I don't know how much is like for our consumption, in this big summit, and versus what's going on. Maybe, Pompeo's already been over there, at least 2 times that we know of. So I don't know. I guess it's one of those things, Troy, where, I'm getting, older every day. It's just going to go, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't worry about it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. All I can do is just hope for the best, and understanding these are tyrants that we're dealing with. I don't, whatever ism they represent, communism, it's, boiled down, they're just the same, control freak a-holes they've always been throughout history. So, it's going to be a tough slog, and they're going to make it, whatever trajectory towards betterment of their own people, of the whole world. I just think it's going to take a lot longer than it should, but that's just the nature That's their nature.
Right,
So.
right. And hey, welcome, Colton. I see you in the chat. Good to see you tonight. As you can tell, we're definitely sporting our enlisted 9. So yeah,
Colton.
and so interesting. So last week, again, not to try to say that I travel in time or I can predict these things or whatever, but last week when when Travis and myself and Toby were together, I was talking about kind of a thought that, with all the stuff going on with Korea, is Iran next, right? Are they going to be the next one? Are we going to start working with them? I kind of really thought that it's probably going to get that way, and knowing, having worked in the government, having worked in some spaces before, I know that by the time stuff hits the news or whatever, it's already like months behind. It's been going on for a while, and you only see like a tip of it. I was really surprised this week when I saw the Secretary of State come out and started talking about, working and negotiating and dealing with Iran. I was like, wow, are they watching Stu and the Nun? I mean, I don't think we gave them the idea, but Secretary Pompeo, if you are, real cool, we'd love to have you on. Really, I'd take you for a minute. I'd take you for the whole hour. But yeah, I was just like, I expected it to happen, but
He's a vet. Invite him on your show, man.
Yeah. But I was surprised when I literally talked about that Thursday night, not even a week ago, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we're talking. We're gonna negotiate with them. We backed out. We're gonna work some deals out." And I was like, "Man, there's no stopping this guy. There's no." It's like,
I know. I'd love it. I mean, again, Iran. I think it's the same kind of deal. Just if I may borrow the term from W. Bush, the axis of evil. I believe it was North Korea, Iran, and at the time, I guess it was Iraq. I think it's before we went back in there, but yeah. So I just think it's the next pin to fall. So hopefully, maybe use Korea as some sort of example. And I don't know. I don't want bloodshed, but I hope the Iranian people actually kind of rise up and take care of the problem, not just for us, but for themselves.
Well, we talked about it, right? We talked that in our Western society, in our politically correct, infiltrated and overtaken society, we see kindness as a sign of gesture, right? A virtue. Where the rest of the world, especially in the third world, sees kindness as a weakness. And we, the whole thing of going around apologizing and bowing and being friendly and putting yourself in the back seat does not ring well with most of the world, and I mean, whether it's the president's unpredictability, whether it's but I don't think that's totally it, because I think President Reagan was always also kind of predictable. Ironically, also kind of came from outside the political standpoint to a degree, not as much.
To a degree,
right, but also, kind of like, who knows what's said in the back rooms, in the back channels on the red phones, but it was, he influenced a lot of change around the world through America's strength, and it seems to be happening that way now. And for those that were alive back then and watching the news and paying attention, granted, it's totally different media landscape. In fact, almost unrecognizable to today. The media didn't like him back then either. Didn't like President Reagan. He was not, he was not judged a good thing until years later, because that's the way they kind of do. They look back, and history usually favors you. But he was kind of really, there was a lot of bad things said about him and about the First Lady and all that kind of stuff. But it seems to be strength has the pull, and not weakness and kindness. But anyways,
it's a fallen world. So
that's just the way it is, right? They respect that, because the people live in fear. Works. That's why, unfortunately, a lot of bad employers use it, and managers. Everything in life's a carrot and a stick, and you get a lot more with the stick than you do with the carrot.
You're right, and you don't have to be leader of a country to be a tyrant or a despot. You could be some sort of manager at some you name it type of business. It's this, it's the same principles apply. For abuse and just being a hole, abusing your power and authority.
Right. So speaking of carrot and stick, it seems like Starbucks is going to be turning on the carrot. They had a stick, which was don't come in here and not buy anything. And now they're pretty much opening it up to come in and do just about whatever you want, hang out in the Starbucks. And,
I kind of have Anyway, I
Yeah.
have a personal interest in
You
this.
do. Not trying to put you. I'm not trying to
But
trip you up there. I just thought, it is something that's also
full
relevant.
disclosure, full disclosure. But no, I think this all started with the Philadelphia incident with the manager of the store, who I think she was. I bet if you looked at the standard operating procedure and the rules of Starbucks, all that lady did was enforce it. She's
Yeah.
probably one of the few in the entire Starbucks, chain of command anywhere in the world that said, hey, I'm going to go check the blue book. And the blue book says, clearly on page 43, subparagraph, 2, blah, 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 blah. And she went, oh, and it took her, she was probably busy. These guys are busy. They're doing stuff. And they took a while to even notice what was going on. And she just decided to try to enforce it. She thought she was doing the right thing for, the corporation, her employees, and the other patrons in there. And now it's blown up to this. So I think I read an article about her and if that's true, she can point to that and say, hey, this was valid that day. She's got a case. She's got an argument against the corporation, and she may, for the rest of her life, may be living on a beach earning 20%. If she so desires, because she's got a legitimate grievance. Because hey, I'm just following orders.
Yeah.
So, and they've since changed the orders, and they're going to have that stand down, I think, on Tuesday for like 4 hours or 3 hours, and they're going to have classes and stuff. I don't know, some training. But I think just opening the doors is I think what'll happen is over time, Troy, you won't really hear about it. I think over time they'll start. There's a reason they have these rules. There's a reason they have these rules. And this Starbucks has been around for 45 years or whatever, or maybe longer now. And you're not just being a jerk, but you're trying to protect your employees and your patrons. And I think they're going to gradually start enforcing these rules, because they're going to the feel good moment, the honeymoon of, oh, I feel so good about myself for doing this. I'm such a good person. Oh, I'm going to pat myself on the back. Once that wears off and they start hearing about problems from the field, from employees, from patrons, they'll gradually start quietly enforcing this stuff again. It's just a fad, and it's just I don't know what it is. It's just unfortunate, but
Right.
I feel for the employees and the patrons, especially in certain parts of the country where it quickly may become a problem with
Right. Yeah.
people loitering. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, it is a PC world, and we'll see how it turns. But I did not realize Starbucks had a blue book. That's interesting that they also coveted the elusive blue book. I wonder if it actually also instructed them how to properly dig the grenade sumps in the mortar fighting position, 18 inches deep at a 45-degree angle. Anyways, we digress.
You got to have 18 inches of overhead cover.
Yes. So speaking of carrots and sticks, let's talk about another one before we're going to cut to commercial here in a little bit. Believe it or not, we have a commercial.
Man,
it is the first commercial I think we've ever done here on Stu and the Nun since Toby and I have been on our own from the last venue we were part of. Anyways, before we get to that, another carrot and stick is the NFL. The NFL was trying a carrot, and they were like, "Hey, can you please not kneel? Like, really please?" And
pretty please with sugar on top. Yeah.
Now they are considering a 15-yard penalty for kneeling during the anthem.
I had not heard that. Is this brand new?
This is brand new breaking news, fresh from the Drudge.
Really?
It is right now. The NFL owners are meeting, and they always kind of meet during the off season to plan things. They are actually talking. Look, man, when it hits you in the pocketbook, it hurts. So they have lost a lot of money, and they can't. I'm sure they realize they can't force people to stand.
Right.
But they can make it a penalty, I guess, if you kneel. I guess the refs will be watching the sidelines, or I'm sure the media and news will film and show anyone on TV or Jumbotron who's kneeling. But and I was curious, I'd be like, one person kneels at 15, if two is at 30,
what if both sides kneel? What if both sides kneel? Did they
is it
did they assist that on the initial kickoff, or then the other team, if they had somebody kneel, did they do that in the second half initial? I don't. But
anyways,
it's
point, interesting, Troy, the fact that they're looking to go to that path to put put a stick on the team. So
yeah, and I think that the NFL slightly had a Starbucks to draw an analogy between the two organizations, and different problems, but sort of same solutions that the organizations
Ramp
have
stand.
chosen, but they're just a little bit ahead because Starbucks has yet to be hit in the pocketbook yet.
Right.
So once once the stock price starts to it starts to go a little south, we'll be like, oh well, maybe we'll for safety or whatever, and then they'll come up with something else. Okay, every Starbucks will donate 10 cents every dollar made for homeless shelters and stuff. So they'll do something to justify what they're doing within the stores. But I think it'll happen quicker than they anticipate, if they've anticipated it at all. So.
Yeah, what's interesting is you can bring your Dunkin' Donuts or Tim Hortons or whatever into the Starbucks. So when I'm in New York City now, Starbucks has really good Wi-Fi. I can go to a little cafe or deli and grab my coffee, and then go into Starbucks and sit there and get on the Wi-Fi or whatever, hang out next to the homeless people. But anyways, it'd be interesting. So yeah, hey, I want to cut. We're at the halfway mark. I want to cut to a commercial. This is a surprise even to you, Doug.
I aspire to be to have a commercial on the show.
Well, you do. You have the very first commercial on the show.
I'm so jealous.
Gear for Grunts. Here you go, everybody.
Ramp stands for Rapid Access Magazine Pod. They're designed to hold mil-spec and the polymer mags, arguably a little bit faster to actually draw the magazine out than working with a flap or a bungee type system. The buddy ramp system, you can actually drop right off their back and go into your weapon. Go.
And there you go. The ramp. First commercial here on Stu and the Nun.
And I guess I have to pay you money now and stuff.
Dude, that ain't free. We'll send you the bill.
Is coffee or liquor currency? Is this legal tender on the Stu and Nun show? I mean,
only if it's Starbucks and and I get to drink it in the place. Yes, and all the Gear for Grunts gear. And yeah, we will talk about the payment. And whiskey is always a good option. But anyways, there you go, Gear for Grunts. So with that, Doug, I just, that was kind of my way to
That's
to
your
thank
segue,
you.
and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
yes.
and just
that's
kind
a
of
transition.
give you a plug.
That's your transitional device. So that's awesome.
Well, so let's talk about that. You have been let's give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a history of kind of how it came about, where you got the idea from, and just some of the major milestones from inception, from this drawing on a napkin to where you are today, the major milestones that you've hit, if you wouldn't mind, and then we'll talk about kind of what that process has been like going into the Army.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Real quick. So my day job, I'm a software project manager. So a couple years back, I was working for a company that had a gig with the Army. So every once in a while, we'd go up to Fort Hood, north of Austin, where our customer was. Both green suiters and white suiters. Actual Army personnel and DA civilians who were using the software tool that we were developing and maintaining for them. But so long story short, we'd go up there, do quarterly brief or status or whatever, and then when you're done, you go over to the PX Mini Mall, and you're at the typical, I don't know if they're still there, but this was probably 10 years ago now. They have the Anthony's and the Robin Hood subs. Anyway, so we're there for lunch, and I'm sitting there, and I haven't really been plugged into as much as you were, Troy, since you stayed in. So I got out in '97, so that's my frame of reference for equipment and stuff. So I'm sitting there. I remember I'm sitting there, and I see some soldiers. They're coming in off the range. They're doing something. So I go, oh wow, hey. Everybody's got an M4 now. Everyone has a collapsible stock. Hey, that's cool. Wait, what? Everybody's got a scope on their weapon now. Hey, that was a big deal, back in my day. Oh, and the scopes are a lot smaller than they used to be. And oh, wait, hey, they did something to the helmet. The helmet's smaller now, and they got this weird, funky camouflage that doesn't really look like it's really applicable to anywhere on planet Earth. But hey, it looks sci-fi. It looks cool. And then I'm going down oh, hey. Everyone's got body armor on now. What's that? In my day, it was an LBE and non-up armored Humvees. And then I'm kind of processing all these upgrades. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. The standard soldier, the infantryman, has got these awesome tools and it's trickled down and every soldier has this stuff now. And then I'm like looking, I'm like, why do they got all this cool stuff and they still have these lame ammo pouches with like Velcro covers, and it's like it's literally like World War I stuff, when magazine-fed weapons first appeared on the battlefield, the Browning automatic rifle and the M1911, that's how they kind of carry it. They've been carrying the magazines for the rifles and everything else the same way. And I just sort of hit, I'm like, well, why don't they wear the magazines the way they are in the weapon? So if they're in the weapon, I got a visual aid here. If they're in the weapon like this, rounds up, well, why don't they wear some of their magazines, their basic load, in a rounds up attitude? Because wouldn't it be faster if I had to eject? I got my weapon here, I eject, and the spent magazine goes down, and I'm able to reach down and just insert a new mag in the magazine well. So basically what it was this was my idea, and this is by the way, it took a long time to figure out what the heck to call this thing, but this is the RAMP, the Rapid Access Magazine Pod, and it does and is exactly what its name is. So my idea was, well, why don't we just wear a magazine well? Because that's where the magazine lives in the weapon, right? So why don't we just
So that's what it was pretty much replicate a magazine well.
So I'm like, so why don't we just do that? So anyway, long story short, and I literally, there was a time where I go, I just want to forget about this. Just, idea, leave me alone. Just, I want to, but it persisted. And so it's probably, we're thinking, what year? I don't know. We're into, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. I don't know. Different phases, but we've arrived at the RAMP E, which is sort of the second generation. And so literally what it is it's Molly, compatible. So the ramp needs to live on the Molly, whether it's the old school, as I would call it, webbing Molly, the sewn-on stuff, or the sort of up-and-coming next-gen laser-cut Molly. So, we keep telling the Army and SWAT guys, well, the ramp's here now, but it's also here where you're going because it works even better with the laser-cut Molly that's coming out. So then... Unless you
have the belt loop adapter, right?
Yes. Well, So you just gotta, I'm just gonna demonstrate real quick. So here's a magazine, 30 rounds, and this is a Magpul Gen 3. And why is that important? It's important because the United States Marine Corps and Air Force have started to adopt this as standard issue, and the Army's not far behind. So we had to make the ramp sort of go again, sort of where the trend's going. So again, the way the ramp works is if I'm wearing it or whatever, you just literally pull out the ramp. No moving parts. pull out the magazine. No moving parts.
No buttons, no springs, no buttons.
No springs, no, because I'm like, keep it simple, stupid. Having been, it's got to be as grunt-proof as we can make it. So what we're doing is that mag, that detent that's in all the mags, whether it's, polymer mags that just have like a recessed, or the good old-fashioned stay nags, which have a full punch-out, we're leveraging that detent inside the ramp. So there's a little mag catch in there. So again, like the weapon, the magazine goes in one way. And when you fully index it, if I may use that term,
you may. It's a proper term to use.
The magazine lives inside the well of the ramp, if you will. But it's not just the four sides holding it in. It's really just that guy right there that's living in here. So anyway, long story short, this is a second generation ramp, as I said. So what we've done is this version versus another version is we've widened the attachment hooks, so they're wider. That does a lot of things. That not only strengthens the part, but it mounts on the Molly even tighter. So tighter's better, tighter's faster, tighter's more tactical. Not a lot of movement now when it's mounted onto the soldier's ensemble. And we've also reinforced it with gussets for strength. So these things are pretty damn strong. Knock on wood, it's been a year. I've been selling this model for a year to various people, and we haven't heard of, people are not shy about bad news, right? They're like, I haven't heard anybody say, hey, Doug, I broke one when I was doing this, or low crawling, or when I was breacher guy in a SWAT unit in Travis County, whatever. So the good news is it's friggin' awesome. So it's definitely an upgrade. And the other thing we did, because of this, the Magpul Gen 3 comes with this limiter. It's got this little lip which basically is meant to be there to prevent Joe from jamming the magazine so vigorously into the magazine well that they don't shear off this plastic cowl that's holding in the top round of the magazine.
I wonder how many tests that took to realize they needed that thing.
Yeah, you notice it just magically appears on the Gen 3, and then the military goes, "Oh, that's awesome! Now we'll take 10 million or whatever." So what we had to do is we had to make a minor modification here because this thing was preventing the aforementioned notch from fully seating in the mag catch. So we solved that problem, and it's not important just for the military, but a lot of SWAT guys, they have all the latest and greatest stuff. So most of the SWAT guys that have Magpul Gen 3s or Daniel Defense and a couple other sort of Lancers, other polymer mags, because they want the chicks dig it factor. Because let's face it, this is a sexier magazine than this. It's just cooler. So anyway, these guys have these, and I guess you got people debate. I don't want to get into a religious debate of what magazine's actually better. That's for another time, and I'll let other people talk about that. But suffice it to say, the ramp supports both. And just for old time's sake, I have a relic. You know who gave me this M4 magazine? Sergeant Major retired Eric Cameron when I saw him a few years back. So because I want real stuff to test with because I'm never confident that what I have left over from being in the Army or what I can buy on the market actually simulates exactly what Army issue is. So anyway, shout out to Mr. Cameron, who's living the dream. Just a little bit north of here. God bless him and his family. But anyway, so I just thought and he's got the
550 cord. It did break. The 550 cord
did break.
Quick pull. Yes, that's how we used to make them. I think when Eric came into the platoon, I probably told him to make his mags and prep them like that. I don't know. He
was one of our 11 Bravos that came from some other company. I'm not sure exactly why, but he was.
He added 2 plus 2, and Nate said he can do math. Make him a mortar guy. Make him a. Yeah,
he's a great soldier. I remember him at JRTC. That was awesome stuff. So that's the ramp.
Okay.
That's the quick. And to your point, yeah, we have a duty belt adapter for police because a lot of questions I get was, hey, can I going to SWAT conferences and stuff, which we just went to one last month. We're going to another one 2 months from now, here actually locally this time. But get a lot of questions. Oh, can I mount this to my duty belt? Because a lot of cops now, at least in the state of Texas, they have their sidearm, they have a shotgun, and they have an AR, somewhere, whether they're county, local, county, and definitely the state troopers have them. Obviously the Texas Rangers, and then the special ops Texas Ranger guys. So had to adapt to that, and then also we did something real cool, real quick. Police officers are started getting issued these tourniquets. Like this is a combat application tourniquet.
Yep, cat tourniquet. Yep.
So we just had an idea. I was like, hey Doug, I got it. And they would get these things, but they have nowhere to put it. They're literally laying in their car on the seat, in their cruiser or whatever. I don't know how to do it. I can't do anything with it. So let's go, well, let me think. Does it fit inside the ramp? So kind of the same idea as the magazine. Just take this, stick it up in here. It's made for a magazine, so it's not going to stay in it by itself. So we go, why don't we just add some nylon that loops onto we already have attachment hooks here. So we'll loop a top, we'll loop a bottom, throw some Velcro on it. Voila, you have like a mini trauma kit. And, I got a pair of shears here. You can stuff those in there.
So that was anyway, based on feedback and a need you saw that they came to you and said, hey, I got this. And you just went, well, I already got a thing. Pretty much there. Yeah.
It's just try to the simplest solutions I can have. So kind of to your point, that's the idea. That's what we're working with our customers. Obviously we want big Army would be a great customer. And what I tell the Army is, hey, I'm not out to replace every single magazine pouch you have issued. That's not our aim. And if anybody from our organization says that, they're just wrong. But what we want to do, we want this to be, an addition, a complement to, because I don't know what the basic load is in nowadays. I'm sure they're consuming gobs of ammo in combat over there. But if you have 2 or 3 magazines, sort of as your quick draw go-to mags, if you make contact, you get if you're doing suppressive fire. God forbid you get stuck in an ambush or whatever, you just got 2 or 3 of your magazines. You can just reload literally that quickly.
Right.
It's that So and then as you consume these from your ramp, the idea is as your buddy's covering you, then you can reload your now empty ramps from all the kangaroo pouches and whatever else the Army has that your magazines fit in, that how you carry them now. So the idea is you got to carry these magazines, you got to carry these things. So why don't we take that need, we have to carry them, and turn it into a combat advantage and make our soldiers more lethal. Because if I can get more rounds downrange faster and arguably more accurate, because now I don't have to look down and fumble and bumble with bungee cords and Velcro tops, smooth, quick reload, and get all soldiers. My goal is, maybe this isn't for tier 1 soldiers. Maybe they're so badass they don't need this. Hey, that's cool. Well, why don't we have Joe, Signal Corps soldier, give him a couple of these, train him up. Maybe he can load almost as efficiently as those guys. That would be badass. So anyway, kind of to your procurement, I've learned, Troy, and you've got some experience with this too. There's many a program. There's many a route. It's almost like spokes on a wheel. There's many routes for Army acquisition, and I won't even go into DoD acquisition. We'll just stick to Army, and it's almost like you get into it and you learn about another one, and there's another one that specializes in this and that, and it's definitely it's a learning experience. It's a process. And as you know, you kind of alluded to me. It's a passion. I have a passion for this thing because I think it could save soldiers' lives and make them more combat effective, thereby increasing their chance of accomplishing the mission more efficiently. And anything that gives them an advantage over the enemy, hey, and it's just all from a inexpensive ballistic polymer that they wear on their ensemble, with the minimal training that makes them that much more combat lethal. Hey, that's easy.
So what have you found? What have you found when you've tried to? I know you've had a lot of meat. You've sold a lot of these to a number of law enforcement agencies and probably individual law enforcement officers. Sure. Yeah. But and you've shipped some to soldiers downrange.
Yeah. This has been in combat, and to Eric Cameron took it with his unit a couple of years ago. He took not this version. He took the earlier version, which performed well, and that's where some of these ideas came from to improve the product.
Right.
We made this stronger. We'll eliminate whatever breakages happened before. We're going to eliminate those. We're going to make that even rarer than it was before. No, magazine changes come. We gotta modify it. Right. So a lot of these suggestions, are from the field and world about that.
How's it been trying to get through this process? It's been a long, right? It's definitely not something. There's no quick get rich scheme.
No, it's the typical, throw MBA junk at you, barriers to entry. One of the major things is some people immediately get it. They just go, "Oh, that's badass. Why didn't I think of that?" So immediately, so you got your early adopters. They run off and they're passionate and they're like, "This is badass." And the other people are like, I don't see the cool guy I follow on Instagram using those yet. So I'm gonna just kind of wait back here till it looks cool, but I'm just. So there's a lot of
Is there a lot of politics? Are you having to,
There's standard operating procedure. So like, when we go to SWAT conference, for example, they always want to reload like this, because this is what they're used to. Because when they put their magazines in their pouches, it's always rounds down. Why is it rounds down? Because they're trying to grab this lower 2/3 of the magazine, because the upper third, that's what's going to go in the weapon. So they're trying to expose this, and maybe perhaps keep the top exposure rounds from getting dirty. But they're always doing this. The guys will come to our table at a conference and they're like, they'll even pick it. I'll even demonstrate to them. Say, "Look, dude, rounds up. It's easier." And they'll literally pick. Well, can I wear it like this? Can I wear it like it? I'm like, dude, you can wear it however you want. That's fantastic, but it's designed to be rounds up, so you don't have to do this. So and this just complicates the reload process, because I got to reach down, I got to grab it. Assuming there's no bungee holding this thing in, assuming there's no Velcro flap over it, I got to grab this, then I got to clear this, now I got to invert it, now I got to find the mag well. It's like, right. Oh, heck with that, man. Let's just do this. Boom, you're done. So it's been more of a, that's the way we've always done it.
Right.
So it's been more of like an education. Go ahead and try it. Let me know what you think. And if you go out to our our Instagram, Gear for Grunts, Ramp, Rapid Access Magazine Pod on Facebook, when I hear from cops, because we give them a 20% discount, so they got to call me, I got to verify, okay, you really cop, blah blah blah. But I say, hey man, your ramps got shipped. Please send pictures. No one wants to see me running around. I've already drank the Kool-Aid. I'm a true believer. I'm like, but I want you guys to show me doing it in the field. Like last week, I had a picture from Wawita, Oklahoma, reservation cops. Guys who patrol. They're freaking wearing these things because they're wearing body armor. They got the
right.
Molly. They got ARs. So I'm like, and everything on up. But as far as the military, we're fortunate. We're in the program right now. We're sort of at the beginning stages of a program. I'll be spending a considerable amount of time at a U.S. Army installation where you've spent some time on before over the next 9 months. But the cool thing about this one is I get to train the troops. We get to train the troops. We get to say, hey, this is the ramp. We get to, it's going to be like my vision is train the trainer. So instead of just going, throwing a box of ramps at some soldiers who have no idea what it is, which has happened before, no training, no nothing. Now we can go, hey, do the crawl, walk, run training, and just say, here, this is how you use it. This is what it does. Well, you guys tell me how you use it, because they're going to come up with all kinds of cool ways to use this thing.
Oh, some dudes are going to put it sideways. Some dudes are going to put it back. Yeah.
Well, there's this one right here that came from. I don't know if you can see. They wore it on the back. They would mount it because they got the Molly everywhere, because that came from 3rd Brigade, 10th Mountain. Long story how I even got that gig. I just literally sent a box over to this platoon over there because somebody bought them a bunch of PMags, which at the time, I don't know if we're legal or not, but somebody bought the platoon, that particular platoon, because I think the platoon leader was a West Pointer, and there was this West Point. Anyway, so I just sent them, and they use these things in common. And they came up with about, one of them was, we call it the buddy ramp. So you're wearing a ramp back here because you have a weapon malfunction, or you're just consuming a high volume of rounds, just unbelievable. So you can just grab it off your buddy in case you're in some weird, contorted position trying to return fire or suppress fire or whatever. So that's just an example of some of these awesome, things that I've never, I can't think of everything, and I don't pretend to have all the knowledge, but anyway, that's what we're always seeking knowledge from the field to improve this thing and to improve the sort of the SOPs, if you will, for when soldiers or police officers use them. So
yeah, well, when you think about a soldier that's only, let's say he's got anywhere from 3 to 5 or more years, especially when you get your mid-level, senior level NCOs and leaders, they've got muscle memory now, right? They've been pulling things out of Velcro pouches and stuff for so long that's the reason why you see the cops grab it and flip it over.
Exactly.
They're having to retrain, that muscle memory that they have shaped their bodies to do with no thought in milliseconds in high stress, high amp situations. Right. It wouldn't surprise me if some of the soldiers that got those downrange while engaged or doing something didn't grab one out and try to flip it over to put it in because they're just they're on autopilot, right?
Exactly. So no, you're exactly right, and that again, it's different. It's different, and it's just trying to break that, the proof's in the pudding, right? So if we're going to do live fire with this thing, and just this particular program, they're going to do a force on force with this thing. So, CQB drills, where they, I guess nowadays, which I don't know why I never thought of this one as then, I'm like ashamed of myself. So cool that we should have been doing back then. But anyway, where you get up, and you qualify, you walk down the lane and you're shooting targets, and then force a reload because I only gave you a magazine with 5 rounds in it. And it's timed and it's tracked. That's brilliant. Well, the ramp's kind of like tailored for that. If it's a timed event, it's actually, boom, use this. Let's force you to reload 2 or 3 times using the ramp after we train you up. So, and then, do a force on force, do IMT with it, getting in and out of vehicles. I want one of these on a rucksack, somebody jump with it. That'd be awesome, right. So all these kind of weird tests that, besides, different terrain and temperatures and all that jazz. So, but yeah, so it's going to be actually 11 Bravo soldiers. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's a great opportunity. And, if this thing flies, great. Even if it doesn't, Troy, I can say via a bunch of circuitous routes and barriers to entry, and also I'm with the right people on the planet to evaluate this thing.
It's taken a while, right? It's and how much, and it may take a little while longer, right? It's not even going to be a fast.
Oh yeah, I mean it's taught me patience and persistence, and just it's passion, and it's kind of it's again, I just feel, oh, thank you God, we're with the right people on the planet, and if they tell me, oh, this is crazy, or this is, whatever, we don't like it, or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, at least, these are informed people, these are and this is who the target, we're gear for grunts, that's what we're for. We're not selling gear to the, brigade commander in the TOC so he can, have, aerial vehicles to reconnaissance and all that. No, this is like ground zero for the grunt, for the individual grunt, for his fire team, and on and on. But so, yeah, really excited about the opportunity, and that's a whole other story how we got into this opportunity, because, again, it's like a learning experience. You talk to some Army guy, he goes, oh, yeah, you know what? You need to talk to this guy and shoot him an email, and you go, well, God, I hope I hear from that guy, and then you hear from him, and then anyway, so it's
well, so the bottom line is, you mentioned passionate. You have to be, because
you have to be.
It's not something, if you have a great idea that is just going to happen overnight or over many nights. It's going to take multiple years to make it happen.
Don't expect everybody in the world go, oh, that's the greatest idea in the world. Even if they even acknowledge it, oh, that's a great idea. I wish I thought of that. Because of the way things are, status quo, people might be afraid to be kind of, oh, I'm going to be the first guy doing. So there's always that aspect too when you're introducing a new way to do things versus the way it's been done forever. So you got to go, okay, if I was that guy, I'd probably be the same way. I mean, if I'm a lieutenant sitting at Fort Hood right now and some dude comes in with a shirt with this on and says, hey man, take a box of these and go out, it'd be like, what the hell is it? So it's you got to put yourself in people's position, and it's got to work. This is important. It's got to work. So under all conditions, and what's really cool is they're going to do things to it that I haven't even imagined yet. You think you know it all. Like, oh yeah, somebody did this with it, and somebody did that with it, and they've done this, and the soldiers, as will come up with some like, oh wow, that's the most badass thing. I never thought of that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
I'm waiting to see one on a helmet, like on the back of a helmet, dude. Like, I need to have it right here. Who knows? But anyways, that's awesome. That's so for anyone watching or listening that's thinking that has this great idea, you may be quicker to go through the patent office than to get through the Army Acquisition Center.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other story. This has a patent, it has a design patent. That's a whole other story. That was a 3-month journey to get that done. So that's a whole, that's a whole other episode. So yes, that's
patents
another
aren't
journey.
Easy, fast, or cheap for sure. And you know what else isn't easy, fast, or cheap? It's getting a 30-year-old man out of his parents' house. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Oh my God, I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah, they taking him to court or something.
Did you like that segue? That was a segue here as we're winding down. Yeah, his parents have sued him, and the judge ruled today that they can evict him. But I guess he went back to the house when the court thing got over. But yes, he's like 30 years old, and his parents had to resort to suing him to get him out of the house. And I don't know. He says, well, they don't make me food. I don't eat their food, and I don't, I don't do my laundry. But just beside the point. But yeah, it's like, dude, he needs a girlfriend or something. I don't know.
He needs to grow. I mean, God,
well, I looked at him. It's not surprising why he doesn't have a girlfriend. I mean, he could probably use a haircut.
There might be a reason he does not have a girlfriend, and you're like, yeah, dude, come on, gosh, not to compare, but God, when I was 30, I had 2 kids and wife, working on the second career because I left the Army. Anyway, I'm just like, grow up, dude. If I can do it, come on. It's not that hard. Just grow up.
Right. Yeah. And one last thing I want to hit on before we wrap up tonight is that I'm wondering now. I had a conversation with a coworker today, and we were kind of chatting. He was like, man, isn't it funny how this whole investigation thing is kind of backfiring on the Obama administration and the Democrats? And I was like, yeah, because it's when you look at it, they thought they were going to get something, whether stuff was drummed up or really happened or didn't happen. They've been at it for over a year, and it seems like they were drilling a hole, right? And I kind of take it this way: they were drilling a hole, but they've made the hole so wide it's now cutting into their space. So it's like, you're trying to you're next to something, you're drilling a hole, and now you're trying to, now it's cutting into your foundation because you made the hole too big. That's what's happening, because now there's I'm assuming that whoever is behind a lot of this, whoever thought this was a great idea, who thought they were going to catch the president, impeach the president, or whatever, is probably regretting that they didn't stop a while ago.
And again, I think, Occam's razor. Why there's so many. I think why there's so much going on. A lot of these people, I don't want to speak for them, but I'm just saying, a lot of these people were sure Hillary was going to win. So a lot of the stuff they did was to endear themselves to her. So when she took power, they're like, oh, hey, remember me? Yeah, I was a big supporter. Hint, hint. No, I want to be head of FBI next time, or I want to be this, or I want to be. So there's a lot of real selfish, motives, I think, that why some of these people did these things, whether they were directed to or encouraged to or whatever. Not regardless, it's still bad. But to your point, what administration did this happen under? If you love Obama, you hate Obama, I don't care. Why was this going on in his administration? And whether he knew about it or not, he's still wrong. He's still wrong.
And when President Trump came out a little over a year ago, I think, and said that that it's very possible the Obama administration spied on him and had surveillance on him, and the entire world kind of laughed at him, and I had friends of mine that are very conservative that called me like, dude, what's he doing? Why is he? Whole, it wasn't even conceivable that could happen. Yet now we have now we know there were wiretaps done on people in the Trump Tower, whether they were on him or not.
Right.
And now we're finding out there were potential human intelligence spies planted or attempted to be put inside the campaign. Some well before any possible concern about collusion or this or that, like well before that. So,
well, and to your point too, Troy, there was even precedents before, like Trump, of government spying on people. They had the reporters, the Fox News guy, and then the lady, what's her name? She used to work at CBS. I can't remember her name. They spied on her, and they spied on Congress.
Yeah, there was precedent.
They got the Congress stuff.
Right.
So there was. So it's not a stretch. You can't go like, oh well, I'm so shocked that this happened. Even if you acknowledge it, I'm like, well, dude, you got precedents for this. And that's just what we know about, Troy.
Right.
And that's the scary stuff. Is like, well, what you know about, is one thing. What scares me is like, there's a whole bunch of stuff we don't know about. We may never know about. So anyway, I don't know. Hey, if you love Trump or you hate Trump, what I appreciate, but he's like a Xeon light mounted on an M60A1, 105 gun, and it just goes like this, and it just shines a light in it, and the rats scurry. And I'm not just talking about Democrats, I'm talking Republicans too. It's just like this big, it's like the eye of Sauron just looking around. And it's just, I think, and it sucks that we're learning all this stuff, but you know what? The truth's going to set you free, man. So you can't, we have to know what our government's been doing, and it's our government. It's our country.
If the election had went the other way, none of this would.
We wouldn't be hearing about any of this stuff.
And how much of this has happened in the past, we'll never know about it.
And it's so funny how it's so hard for people to like even imagine this happening. I'm like, people are people, man.
Well,
it's
and
a fallen, broken world. This is not.
I think our country mindset is that we're above that reproach, right? We're the ones that go into other countries, third world countries, and make sure their elections are fair, and do that. Make sure they can get their walk to the bowling booth and put their finger in ink and all that stuff. There's no way we would do that. We have checks and balances. We have this and that. But the reality is, there's not. You're right. People are fallible. And people are corrupt and greedy.
Yeah, we're not happy about it. I'm not proud. I think it's just horrible. But the only way to fix it is to first identify it, and accept it, and then deal with it. You can't just, oh well, that'll never happen here. I'm like, isn't that arrogance before the fall, right? As soon as you start, oh, never happened. Yeah, I'm sure the Romans were like, hey, it's gonna go on forever. Yeah, that'd work out. So.
Yeah. No, it's but it's interesting how this goes. I just like I say, I was talking with a coworker today, and it was kind of like, yeah, I bet they wish they pulled the plug on this a while ago. It's like, oh, we didn't find anything, let's let it go, right? I'm sure they never, just like they never could imagine or foresee that the third candidate would not win.
Yeah.
They probably never, they probably had convinced themselves, with no evidence, that they're absolute. No one could accept that she didn't win. That there was no way he won without that kind of help.
It had to be something. It had to be.
They just thought for sure they were going to find something, right? And for sure going to find something, and still nothing. And even the people that have been indicted are like outer fringe, like, or were part of the campaign early on and gone, and none of them have to do with what the investigation's about. But it's interesting to see.
If they found Russian collusion, which apparently that doesn't really even mean anything in the eyes of the law. But if they find, whether someone's in the Trump administration or anybody doing anything nefarious with the Russians or any other foreign power, same standard applies to me. You need to be, pursued to the highest, to the law, to the highest degree possible. So, they've talked a lot, but there's not even any like smoke. It's just the only smoke is the stuff they're blowing, and it's just.
Yeah,
you're right. They're just trying to make reality what they want it to be, and reality's a bitch. Reality's unforgiving.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it'd be interesting to see how this turns out. It's turning against them, and we'll see where it all plays. But I'm sure if anyone could turn back the clock, there's probably some of them that wish they could. But, hey, we've been going a little over an hour tonight, Doug. Is there anything you wanted to bring up? I know I brought up a few topics. Is there anything you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, there is. I was reading, and related to the sort of the little procurement discussion we had, I found this on Defense News. The U.S. is running out of bombs, and it may soon struggle to make more. I won't read the article, obviously, but a long story short, it just because of there's fewer and fewer munitions companies, so therefore stockpiles have been depleted. Parts, so a lot of our munitions are old, and they keep remaking them. So they make new old stuff. So there's harder and harder to sort of like support those and maintain those.
Right.
So then again, so it's almost like it's becoming a problem, and a lot of compounded by some of this stuff's only made by foreign companies. There's one substance. Just like insulation for certain types of munitions, it's only made in Belgium because we don't make enough stuff anymore. So so it's like this slow motion train wreck, and because we're expending ordnance probably at a higher rate than anybody had imagined. So it's again, you got all these factors going on. So I thought I'd drop that. You can find that at defensenews.com. So that's very interesting, and I don't know what we're going to do about it because there's between Lockheed Martin and the other company, they do 97% of the munitions.
Like
so there's not enough competition. So hey, you got a good idea out there? You get into business and get a government contract and help defend the United States and our allies because you came up with a way to do this better and to support this effort. So I just thought that was interesting because it kind of went related to what we were talking about earlier. So
yeah, and if
wow.
If you're looking for a job, apply to Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, or any of the others.
Yep.
They need more people on the line, I guess. So there it is, still creating jobs, right? So they come across the border, put them in the bullet making line, I guess. I don't know.
You do this for 5 years, and we'll make you a citizen. Boom!
Yeah,
you're a citizen.
Make lots of bombs, but which I don't know if they got other people, right? Because I heard the other day that now, based on the unemployment rate, there's actually enough jobs for everyone, based on the unemployment rate versus the number of open positions in this country.
Isn't that amazing? I never in my life would thought
for the first time in our they've ever measured this that we have enough jobs for everybody, right?
It's just unbelievable in such a short amount of time.
Yep. So, all right, man. Well, hey, it's been a good night. That hour flew by.
I know it always flies by, man. It's awesome because we're having a good time.
We are, and we covered a lot of topics. We showed your commercial that you didn't even know was going to be shown.
I appreciate that.
And make sure you check out make sure you check out gearforgrunts.com. Follow Doug at Gear for Grunts on Twitter. You can find him on Facebook. As you heard, if you've been listening, Instagram, he has made a number of other products that complement it. And it could be helpful if you're living in a good red-blooded American Second Amendment friendly state, not like the one that I'm in, and you can have 30-round mags and you can have ARs. They would not be a bad thing to have in case you ever need to.
Republic of Texas Freedom. You can't do this in every state.
No, you can't.
Sadly.
No, definitely not in most in the Northeast. But
30 rounds. Just putting that out.
So
God bless Texas.
We had a number of other topics to talk about tonight. MS-13. There's unfortunately the terrible, terrible school shooting, which I want to say again, hearts and prayers go out to those folks. And some people like to ridicule that statement when they go like, oh, just hearts and prayers is all you're going to do. Well, hey, if you understand, if you're a God-fearing man or woman and you understand the power of prayer, then you realize if someone says it and really does it, the impact that could have. You can't pray for the people already gone, but they're gone. You're praying for the people they left behind,
and the friends.
So whenever I hear someone say that, I just realize they don't understand. They don't have faith.
They don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Again,
sadly,
another disturbed individual who broke a number of laws and crimes to do what he wanted to do, because you cannot regulate the free will of man. If a human being wants to do something, they're going to do it. If they want to blow themselves up and take you with them, they're going to want to do it. If they want to sneak a weapon in under a long coat into a school, yes, can you put defensive measures in place and things like that? Yeah, but not every school is going to have metal detectors and this and that. Some don't want to even think about it. But if you don't have the right defenses in place, then they'll get in.
Right.
So it's
that's why they go there. That's why they go there.
Yeah. Nobody shoots up. I always say no one shoots up a cop convention. No one.
Right.
Have you ever worried about? Have you ever worried about one of them SWAT shows of someone coming in and shooting up a SWAT show? No. It'd be the
safest place to be when we go to these things, man. Yes. There's just guns everywhere and trained individuals wielding them. It's like awesome. So,
but anyways, well, thank you everyone for joining us. We had a number of people and not a lot of comments tonight, but I saw a lot of people in there watching. Thank you, Doug, for joining. And
you're welcome. Thank you for having me, and thanks to everyone for listening in and watching.
So thank you everyone for having us in your home tonight on this Tuesday night. And we look forward to you joining us next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't even have my calendar in front of me. What is next Tuesday?
The 29th.
29th. Day after Memorial Day. Okay, that'll be a good show.
Memorial Day, so that's a topic right there.
That'll probably be the topic of the show. I did not even realize that's already upon us. But yes, next Tuesday, the 29th, the day after Memorial Day. We will probably talk about, as you'll probably see, people confusing Memorial Day and Veterans Day and what it means, but it's just the way it is. It's the ignorance of our country. They mean well, and that's what I always tell people when they get ranting and all this stuff on, they mean well. They just don't know. I mean, at least, thankful that they even are acknowledging it, because a lot won't, right? So
we should embrace that. That's exactly right.
But anything with that. So I will bid you adieu and tell everyone to have a good night. And Doug, we'll probably see you online in the chat next week.
Amen. Hey, God bless all. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Troy.
All right.
Love you, man. All right.
Talk to you later, brother.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nun Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us, because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenun.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.